Peace and love, peace and love. You're now rocking to the sounds and vibrations of your boy, Donkilam, also known as Malik Kalam, and as always, prosperity is your divine birthright. Tap in and tune in with your boy. Get the book he just released, From Citizen to Sovereign, Understand the Political Status. Understand it. A lot of people don't. I'm not a licensed attorney or tax expert. I do this for educational and informational purposes only. And sometimes it can be quite entertaining. Let me know where you tapped in and tuned in from, though. Let me know where you tapped in and tuned in from. I got y'all. I can see y'all, man. I can see y'all. But right now, what we're gonna go over is the private life, baby. I'm trying to teach y'all true trusteeship. True trusteeship. A lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people is just out here lost in the sauce, following whatever guru or information sounds good. You know, you keep investing in information. You keep investing in information. What is the rate of return? If you don't have a return of, let's Google something, man. Let's Google something, shall we? All right, Google's not a great source for information, but it's a great start, okay? Let's see what ROI is. ROI, return on investment. All right, return on investment. What is the ROI in anything that you invest in, okay? When it comes to the poor, there's something that poor people do that wealthy people don't, okay? There's a difference between wealthy people and poor people. It's the habits, all right? And this has everything to do with the private life. You got to be on that Warren Buffett shit. I'm trying to tell you. Be on that Warren Buffett shit, man. So if there's no return on your investment, you shouldn't keep investing in it. If it's not making you better, if it's not making your life better, if you choose prosperity, it chooses you. You know, a bank would be out of business if it gave loans to everybody that didn't pay it back. You know, that's the businesses having something, a service or a product for $1 and being able to sell it for $2. At least seeing a return on your investment, the ROI. This is a trustee word because you have to understand, everybody keeps talking about this trust law, right? Well, when it comes to a trust, it's about generational wealth, growing the trust. It's about long-term investments tomorrow. You know, DON stands for DON. Dreams obey narrators, or decide on now, because now creates tomorrow. So I'm going to tell you, how do you hand down wealth? It's not through individuals. It's through your last name, all right? It's through the family. Private family. Your private family, keeping the family together. United we stand, divided we fall. Families are split. It's all about unity. So private family business trust, that's what we're going to talk about today. Family law is private law. Who could get you out of jail before you was 18? They had to call your mom or your dad. They can come get you out of jail. The police couldn't interfere with your law. You could go get your child out of school, whatever it may be, because family law is private law. Okay? The whole reason why trusts were created is to protect the family legacy. The family legacy. Let me know if this makes sense, everybody. Let me know that this is making sense. Let me know where you tapped in and tuned in from, everybody that's out there on the live. And make sure you go to onlyfans.com/Donkilam. That's where you'll get this live video. onlyfans.com/Donkilam, DONKILAM. You can follow me on the Instagram at DON_KILAM. Become a private subscriber or a private member of the OnlyFans today, Donkilam University. We're rolling out our animated courses. We have started. We launched our animated courses, and it's a game changer for everybody. Everybody's liking it. I'm talking about from beginners and experts alike. From Citizen to Sovereign by Donkilam University. Go look it up now. So trusts were created to protect the family. Family is business, and business is your family. So family is a business, and business is a family. It takes money to run a household. Everybody should be using a family business trust for the family. I hear a lot of different trusts. There's so many different trusts out there, and the IRS recognizes over 80. But you have to understand, these are public trusts. These are not private trusts. These are public trusts, and these are codified trusts, all right? There's a difference between private sector and the public sector, the public market and the private market. So the public is the part of the economy that the government controls. And the private sector is part of the economy that the government does not control. And you have to understand, in the private, there is no money. It's just full faith and credit. In the public, there's debt. There's no debt in the private. You have to understand this. It's quid pro quo. Because you can't get nothing for something. Quid pro quo. Fair exchange isn't robbery. Everything is balanced, okay? So everyone should be using the family business trust for the family. And trusteeship is learning how to make the family trust do what you used to do. So this is part of being trusteeship when you're running from the family trust, when you're running the family trust, when you're acting as a trustee with the family trust. You got to understand, with the United States, if you're using their documents, the birth certificate, the ID, the Social Security card, you're falling under their family trust and they're your guardian. United States means federal corporation. A person is a corporation. Per son, one son, you're going to be saved through the father. And that's the route they take. You only be saved through them. So you have to understand. So trusteeship is learning how to make the family trust do what you used to do. So that means paying family expenses, your child's education, family vehicles, family housing. The trust is paying for this. And because you have to understand, a trust is a distinct entity separate from a person. A trust is distinct, separate entity from a person. It can do everything a person can do except vote. It can do everything a person can do except vote. And I'm hoping this is making sense for everybody. So now that you have the trust established, the family trust, if they ask you, who created the trust? The family. It's the family trust that work for the family. And you should be putting your suit and tie on every day for your family. And you shouldn't be wearing a suit and tie for no one else. Your family. You should be getting up working for your family. You shouldn't be making no one else rich except your family. And this is why they thrive and they're wealthy and you're not. Because you're not getting up. You're working for somebody else. You're not adding and growing your family. The family trust. You giving up your heirship. And now you're under the Social Security Administration. Social Security trust. This is a real trust. You're under bankruptcy. That's the real law. This is why you never see remedy. Now, there are many trusts, all right? There's over hundreds of trusts in the public. However, we operate from a family business trust, a private family business trust, and this is through Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. As a state or government cannot interfere with a private contract. Families created the Bill of Rights. Families created the Constitution. So you have to understand, family law is private law. I'm going to say it again. Family law is private law. Say it with me one time. Family law is private law. And that's what it is. Private law has been codified and turned into a legislative act. However, your right to contract privately has never been taken away. Never. And that's what you have to understand, free will. Understand that everything is voluntary. No state can impair the obligations of a contract. No state can impair the obligations of a contract. So a government, they cannot interfere with the private contract. So if the family contract, the private family contract is to pay for your meals, the government can't tax that. It can't interfere. If the family is to pay for your housing, your clothing, your vehicles, education, they can't interfere with these things. You have to understand that. Family is business and business is family. I said that earlier. The trust, when you establish the family trust, the trust is to take care of the family and hand down the legacy. So you have to understand this, and it's private, so it does not have to be incorporated. It does not have to be registered with any state. You have to understand this. You have to learn how to maneuver correctly. The trust is to take care of the family. The wealth gets passed on to a family charity, a foundation, by contract instead of the offspring, because the offspring are trustees and they work for the family foundation, the family trust, whatever it may be. You don't need to register with the state because the state can't impair with your private obligations. And there's case law In the private, we go by case law. I'm gonna teach y'all some game right now. So we got Gregory versus Helvering. And this is a landmark decision by the United States Supreme Court concerned with U.S. income tax law. Look it up. This is what the wealth do when it comes to tax avoidance over tax evasion. You have to understand, and you can give it up to the family. That's all church is. You're taking part of a family, a part of a lineage. And that it just depends on where you come from, on what religion or spirituality you partake in. And that's why you can protect it. And it's always been church versus the state. But you have to learn how to protect this internationally. All right? And be able to transfer this internationally. So wealth gets passed on to family charities. So it's tax-free. It's not caught up in litigation. It can take years. You know? You don't need to register with the state at all. These are all private agreements, private contracts. Now, Gregory versus Helvering, it's the business purpose doctrine and the doctrine of substance over form. Understand that that's trusteeship. Now, in the private, like I said, there's no debt. It's all full faith and credit. The public is about debt, and anytime you put something in the public, it's not a protected position because the creditors can come in and seize the assets. When you create LLCs with their information, you know, you're not creating your private contracts first. You need to have your own operating agreements, your own banking resolutions, your own trust certifications, all these things. Holding company, you need to have your own charging limit protection established. The public is about debt. It's not a protected position because the creditors can come in and seize your assets. Wealth is always private, all right? When you set these private contracts correctly, you can set these up with your assets are non-confiscatable. So they can't be confiscated, you know, with a correct private family trust. And you want to protect these with gold, silver, rhodium, platinum. But you got to understand, if you don't do it correctly, they can come seize your assets. So you have to learn how to do this correctly, all right? Like the Rockefellers, we still talk about them to this day because their wealth is protected. And we talk about the last names. We don't know anything about individuals. We talk about the Rockefellers. We talk about the Kennedys. You hear about the Trumps. These are the names you hear. They're handing down legacies on their last name. They're protecting the family. Family trust grows the wealth. That's what the family trust is created to do. That's the main purpose of it. It's self-perpetual, which means it can last forever. It can go on forever. And it's there to grow the wealth. It's protected from taxation and lawsuits. You're protected because your name doesn't own it no more. The family does. Family trust grows quickly. And it gets business offers and loans when you're growing these assets correctly. If you do grow them in the public and have public things attached to them. But you have to make sure it's charging on the protection states, unincorporated association, 508c1as. These are the things that it contracts with. But you do this at an arm's length dealing. It means you control and you don't own at an arm's length. Tax avoidance versus tax evasion. Tax evasion is illegal. It's tax avoidance because we give up all our personal assets to the family trust. And with a family trust, that's your job now. You have a fiduciary duty. That's your main job, is to grow the trust. The family trust pays for your education. That's what the Rockefellers do. They hand down wealth through endowments. They publicly educate you to keep growing their trust. And the private is different because those are different private endowments. The Jewish have their own community through their private funding and it's through families. It's through families, and a lot of people don't understand this. And when you do start to understand this, there's something called education tax credits. Even with Donkilam University. So the trust, if it were to ever file taxes, it would, because a trust can be sued. But it does get tax credits back. It's the Form 8863, education credits. Education credits, Form 8863. So it's an incentive for the trust to pay for education, housing. You get all these things back. You have to understand that. That's why the government has established Section 8. They get these credits back. They give you food stamps. So this is the things you have to establish for your trust. The family trust pays for your education to grow the trust. It's going to invest. It's entrepreneurship. You know, you invest in yourself. The education is for passive incomes to grow the trust as wealth. And here's I'm going to give you some asset classes right now. We got private placement accounts. And I don't hear anybody talking about this in the guru community. Private placement accounts is an issue of stock either to an individual person or corporate entity or to a small group of investors. The trust will be an investor. Investors typically involved in private placement issues are either institutional investors such as banks and pension funds or high net worth individuals. Private placement shares, all right? This is how you get stocks. This is how you maneuver. And a lot of people don't understand this. Then we got real estate. A lot of people do understand this, but we deal with real estate with holding companies in one of the 5 charge and order protection states. We like Nevada, Delaware, Wyoming, Alaska, those states right there. I like Nevada the best. The government uses Delaware, so do what they do. A lot of people don't understand that a private contract are insurance policies. Insurance policies are private contracts, you know, and you want the trust to insure you because you are an asset. If you're growing the trust, you're an asset to the trust. You're an asset to the United States if you're growing the Social Security trust. You got to understand this. So if you're growing the trust, you're an asset to the trust, and there needs to be a life insurance policy on you because at least you'll be replaced with a monetary gain, so to speak. You'll have some type of capital if you were to die to replace the trust and to help the trustees continue the legacy with the trust. Because investing in yourself is the greatest asset. So the trust creates the insurance policy and the trust becomes the beneficiary so that the trust can have capital to keep the trust alive if the trustee passes. As the trustee is the asset and now the trust is paid. Now the new trustees can take a salary or take a lump sum to reinvest in the trust. And all of this will be tax-free. Because insurance contracts are private contracts. Now that's $1 million worth of gain for everybody right there. That's $1 million worth of gain. I just gave the game away. There's more though. There's more. I touched it a little bit. So insurance contracts are private contracts. Everything I just mentioned are considered asset classes. And you must know this in order to be a trustee, in order to grow the trust. So private placement accounts, real estate, holding companies, insurance policies, these are asset classes. These are forms of asset classes. And so are endowments. These are a form of asset classes. This is what keeps the trust alive. You're publicly educating people to grow your trust. Or you're teaching the family private knowledge to grow the trust. So they even got endowment insurance. But when it comes to endowments, an endowment is giving property or assets to create something for like a college or a university or a hospital. These are considered endowments. You want to build a new wing at a hospital or a school, these are considered endowments. When you're on the hospital donor list, this is considered an endowment. You're part of the founding fathers that keep this. Hospitals are charities. People think your taxes are paying for schools, but they're not. These schools are created and handed down by families. This knowledge is handed down by families. Families run the world. And a lot of people have to understand this and understand this. I don't care what you think is going on in the public. There's always going to be charity. There's always going to be investments. So these things are always going to be around. There's 500 to 1,000 families that run the world right now. And you have to understand this is how they're maneuvering. I just gave the game away. $1 million worth of game. Make sure y'all tap in and tune in with your boy Donkilam. Get the book now, From Citizen to Sovereign, Understanding Political Status Correction. We got animated courses if you sign up on the onlyfans.com/Donkilam. That's onlyfans.com/Donkilam. We not shaking booty. We not shaking breasts, nothing like that. We're giving real game, real knowledge. Sign up and get access to Donkilam.com and DonkilamUniversity.com and get access to our animated courses now and get access to the Donkilam courses at Donkilam.com. $1 million worth of game. But right now, go to Amazon, get the book From Citizen to Sovereign by Donkilam University. You want to get that. It's interactive. You can scan. We got videos. You scan the QR code. If you get the Kindle book, you can just click the QR code and it's going to give you the interactive videos, and it's going to bring you from zero to hero in no time, so you can become a power piece in commerce with your boy, the Donkilam. With that, I'm out. Much peace and love, and remember, prosperity is your divine birthright. Peace.